screen, and look at the move. He's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh. All right, ladies and gents, we are back. It is Canadian Grand Prix time. Feels it's only been 2 weeks, but it feels like forever, doesn't it? Whoa. Guys, there's a lot to unpack today. There is a lot been going on in the F1 world here the last couple of weeks. Wow. Where do we begin? Now, before we get into it, guys, I think we've got a championship up for grabs here. We can't get carried away. I know I've said it in one of two of my other podcasts, but Ferrari are showing some pace, and McLaren. And not just that, the great thing about this is that both drivers in Ferrari, both drivers in McLaren are right there. If it was just the one, you'd be thinking, all right, maybe they just had a bit of a excuse me, an advantage at one track, and then maybe they're not good. But the fact that the two drivers are in each, that means they've got some consistency, solidness, which is awesome to see. So let's get into the first bit of news. This is exciting. So guys, they have unveiled the Formula One regulations for 2026, and beyond featuring more agile cars and active aerodynamics. So what is it all about? Here it is. From 2026 onwards, Formula One will have more agile cars, which are 30 kilos lighter and thus better able to battle on track. Number 2, a redesigned power unit featuring increased battery power and an even split between internal combustion engine and electric power, plus the use of 100% sustainable fuels. Number 3, active aerodynamics in the form of movable front and rear wings to allow for closer racing. Number 4, increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new system that gives drivers a short burst of additional battery power when within 1 second of the car in front. Number 5, improved safety through stronger structures and even tougher tests. And the last one, commitment from a record number of 6 power unit manufacturers. Well, where do we start with these bad boys? It sounds exciting, guys. It sounds exciting. I'm not going to try and be a bit of a buzzkill. A lot of times, a lot of rules come out. You just don't know where they're going to land. In other words, we've spoken about the updates and that the teams come out with every year. And thing is, it can do really, really well in the wind tunnel. And everything looks great in factory. The moment that car hits concrete, it goes nowhere. It just vanishes. And they're like, what the hell? Now, doesn't happen every time? Of course not. But it does happen. So my point is, I'm not trying to be a bit of a buzzkill here, but I mean, these do sound exciting. We just don't know yet where we're going to land with these ones. Okay? Because we have to be realistic. Now, what I do like is that the cars are 30 kilos lighter. Now, you see, when we've been speaking about balance on the car, guys, that's good in terms of if the cars are dealing with problems because the car is too heavy or too light. So sometimes the balance of the car can be literally affected just by the weight of the car. In other words, if this is the case, it's too heavy, well, this 30 kilos lighter now will give those cars that advantage back. So they'll keep that in mind, knowing this going forward. Now, these guys are on the ball, in fairness. They'll know if their car is struggling with too much heat, too much weight. They'll be trying to make upgrades throughout this 2024 season and 25 season, trying to get that weight down. But then it takes the pressure off going into the 26 season. And I'm also excited about more interested about the additional battery power. So let me read this one out to you again. They're saying here, increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new system that gives drivers a short burst of additional battery power when within 1 second of the car in front. Now, many of you may be saying, well, that sounds like DRS in a way, or it's the same type of principle. Maybe you're not saying that, but in a way it's the same principle. In other words, you get within 1 second of the car in front, you gain an advantage, the back wing opens up and the car goes faster, right? Whereas this way, they're getting additional battery power, so it's coming straight from inside the car. I would think it probably is more exciting than a DRS, because opening up the back wing, as we can see, it can work. It can definitely work. Just not as effective as a battery power, because the battery power is directly coming from the source, the engine here, right? The engine, the battery power, all that engine balance and power is coming from that source. It's like it's coming from the heart instead of your shoulders, okay? The advantage. It's coming from the heart now instead of the shoulders. And with aerodynamics, because we've spoken about this as well, with mechanical grip, if you get the mechanical grip sorted, you may be able to play around with downforce now and the wing levels because you've got so much mechanical grip. And then the cars would have been set up for that DRS. Now the problem is with the DRS is that, and really for the battery power too, is that the balance of the car can be affected. Now you see, they would take this into account going on the track every time for a race, because, right lads, if you're in a DRS situation now, how many times are you going to be in a DRS situation in the race? Hard to know, but we need to just factor in that a little bit too, because okay, you may get an advantage down the straight past the guy in front, but you're going into that corner now very quick. You're just going to have to slow down a little bit extra, but if they do carry that extra little speed, you have to account for that little speed too. So you've got to have a little bit of give in your balance. What I'm saying is, if you've got a car that's 100% well balanced, sometimes it's better off to just lay off the gas a little, go to 99.5%, because for things like DRS, or in this case, extra battery power, you might carry a little too much speed through and boom, you might gain an advantage or even lose the advantage. Or just in general, tire wear throughout the race, you might have loads of grip throughout the race, and then the way the car is set up, you might lose grip throughout the race. So therefore you've got to try and get out of the corners quicker, get quicker down the straight, but then you're screwed. So it's very kind of complicated to talk, or to go through so many variations of it. It's incredibly technical, but I do think it is exciting that it is coming from, like I said, the heart now, around the engine area. I think if the drivers are going to get an advantage, it's going to be more of a consistent advantage. So that is exciting, definitely, no doubt. So, okay, let's move on. So obviously, guys, we'll come back to that in more detail throughout the next few weeks, right? We're obviously going to just cover Canada today, but we're definitely going to get into a lot more technical talk in the next few weeks, no doubt about it. Rightio, what is next? Okay, the big discussion. Sergio Perez, baby. Right. Now, as many of you may or may not know, he is now, before the Canadian Grand Prix, he has signed a 2-year deal with Red Bull until 2026. Now, there's people online, I was even looking on social media, guys, when this broke, and people are losing their minds over this. And what I mean to say is, if you haven't seen them, people are saying, I can't believe it, man. That they are so angry, a lot of people. So angry. And they're just like, I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it. Verstappen, he's kicking his ass. Perez is nowhere. He crashed again in Monaco. Here we go. And why are they giving it to this dickhead and blah, blah, blah. Like cursing, blinding, FS. People are having heart attacks over this. Now, I have to admit, I get where they're coming from. I really do. I've been around the racing world for a hell of a long time. This is no surprise to me. Now, and I'll tell you why. Number one, if we go back to 2019, forgive me if I'm just quoting the wrong year, but I'm pretty sure it was 2019. Pierre Gasly went to Red Bull. Now, if you've seen me, guys, I only just previewed or broke down an episode of Drive to Survive for the Netflix show only just a few weeks ago on my podcast, and we discussed this. But we're going to talk about this again. In 2019, Pierre Gasly got booted out of the team halfway through the season and back to Toro Rosso, the second Red Bull team. Now, that tells you that, okay, Christian Horner, Helmut Marko, all the other shareholders of the Red Bull team, they don't mess around. They are ruthless. We don't like this guy. He's not giving us the results. We're not happy with him. Okay, you're out. Good luck. Now, guys, when I say ruthless, I mean ruthless because in all my days, I genuinely can't think of any driver that I've been around throughout the racing years that I've seen been booted out of a team mid-season. You might end up staying with them until the end of the year, and like you're done, halfway through the season, 3/4 way through the season, oh listen man, we're not taking John on anymore. F to him and F to that. We're done with this fella. And they'll hold on to him till the end of the season, and that's it. And you split away, go on your merry way, and that's it. Job done. Good night. Rarely happens. Now, let's stay with that for a moment, okay? He gets booted back to the season. Keep in mind, this is the same Red Bull team. Christian Horner, Helmut Marko, all the other employees of the team and the shareholders. Now, of course, we don't know exactly who every single employee, but you do have the main two guys, Christian Horner and Helmut Marko. These are the guys running the operation. They're the heart of the whole thing. Now, that tells you in the Pierre Gasly day when he gets booted back, it's the same people that we're dealing with here today with Perez. In other words, this isn't a new boss comes in and he's not as ruthless and he says, oh, well, Sergio, he's a nice guy. Let's hold on to him. This is the exact same outfit here. The guys that were ruthless kicking Pierre Gasly out only a few years ago. Mid-season, same guys with Sergio Perez. Now, why on God's earth would they do this? Maybe there's more than it meets the eye. Sergio Perez did not have a good season in 2023. He had an up and down year. He had a couple of good results and then nowhere. 2024, well, we're not even halfway through, but we've seen he's had some disastrous results and he's had one or two okay results. So he's not doing very well here in general. So maybe there's more than meets the eye here. Maybe there's something else going on in the background. Maybe there's someone else pulling the strings for Sergio Perez's team here. If you think about this. Now, let's imagine this. You've got Christian Horner, Helmut Marko, the same guys, ruthless guys who will kick you out halfway through a season if you're not performing, but yet you've got Sergio Perez not doing good and he's staying on for another 2 years. Same guys. Is it because they like him? No. Is he bringing something to the table? Hell yes, he is. We don't know exactly what the actual key ingredient here it is, or the missing ingredient, maybe we should say that, for why he's staying. But guys, let's look at this. In Netflix, we can even see it. Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin sign up with Haas. Many of you may or may not know this. They had to pay their way into Formula 1. I'm going to say that one more time. They had to pay out of their own money and give it to the Formula 1 team. So in other words, Gunther Haas could have easily have got 2 other drivers that would have bit their legs off to get into their Haas team, to get into Formula 1. But yet they decided to go with 2 rookies, right? Rookies! Now why on God's earth would you risk bringing 2 rookies in? Because the 2 guys don't know the operation, how things work. They could have an epic meltdown. It would be better to bring in 1 rookie along with at least one experienced guy who doesn't buckle under the pressure, who doesn't get nervous, who knows how to handle the cars, who knows the whole politics of the game, right? That would be a safer play. Okay? It would be a much safer play. I'm sure you can understand where I'm coming from here, guys. It makes total sense. Imagine in your work environment, you just bring in 2 random guys off the street who don't have a clue of the place, but they know how to do this and do that. Well, wouldn't you rather just hang on to one of the guys at least, who knows how to manage the place, knows this, knows the insides and outs? You know what I mean? I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying here. So, the point is this. I think Sergio Perez is bringing money to the table with an investor behind him, our sponsorship behind him, because you can see even in the Netflix, you see at one stage, before Mick Schumacher signs up with Haas, Gunther Steiner is out there looking for sponsorship. He's looking for a big sponsor. Like he's backed into a corner here, and he needs to find somebody quick. He then sits down, talks to a German company, and the German company basically say, we'd be very happy to sponsor Haas if we had a German driver on board. Now, imagine this. Of course, it makes total sense. A German company who are going to give their money over to a Formula 1 team, of course they want a German driver, their own local guy in the Formula 1 car. You know what I mean? Of course they do. This doesn't take any rocket science to figure where I'm going here with this one, right? Okay? But, you know, let's just go through the information and remind ourselves here what's going on here in the background. So, and again, this is Michael Schumacher's kid. Michael Schumacher, arguably, for me, he's the number 2 of all time. If you think he's the greatest, or number 3 or 4, hey, you know, that's no problem. I'm not here to argue that. That's everybody's different opinion. Totally respect it. But there's no doubt about it. Schumacher is one of the greatest of all time. And even his son has to pay his way into Formula 1. Now, let's not make a mistake here. The sponsorship that Gunther Haas was getting to have a German driver on board, that's totally different from the income that Mick Schumacher would have had to bring. In other words, that's 2 income streams that Haas would have got right there. Mick Schumacher paying his millions over here, and the German company over here bringing in their millions. So even if you get the driver on board, it still doesn't mean you're going to be paying him. Okay? Now, maybe there was a lot more after that because we don't see the deal unfold, okay? So maybe, look, things could have changed in that deal. So in other words, after the Netflix show, or they met Gunther Haas, there was a big fight, there was politics on board. Then all of a sudden, the sponsorship, or the company decided to actually invest their money into Mick Schumacher going to Haas instead of Haas because they had a German driver, if you get me. Things could have changed at the 11th hour. We don't know all the facts. But still, you can have those 2 scenarios where Haas are getting multiple streams of income, or the German company turned around and said, no, we're going to give Mick Schumacher the money to invest in Haas instead of sponsoring the company. I hope I'm making sense, guys, on that one. So again, you know, this is business. This is politics at its finest. This is just the backdoor deals here. I'm not saying shady deals. No. Or, I'm sorry, not backdoor. That does sound like fucking shady. But what I mean is the behind-the-scenes deals. There's a lot of politics to go here. Now, what do we know of Sergio Perez? We don't. And, hey, why would we know? Okay? Some people are secretive about these things. Mick Schumacher, that was no secret. But they certainly don't go around promoting it and advertising it to everybody. Of course not. But it's been out there. And by the way, guys, I've seen this all the way through. Michael Schumacher, the living legend himself, he had to pay his way into Formula One. He had to buy that seat at Jordan team, and then eventually he got paid. So, bottom line, closing this part off, I think Sergio Perez is bringing money to the table, or a huge sponsor, or maybe both, or whichever option it is, but there's something big behind Sergio Perez. He's got resources. End of. Okay? Because if you go back to his results, he hasn't got the results. And if it was anything like the Gasly incident a few years ago, well, we certainly have proof that Christian Horner and Helmut Marko are ruthless when it comes to not happy with the guy's results. Well, so we've proved it, done. Okay, these guys will definitely kick you out, but they haven't with Perez. So, there's something else going on we just don't know, guys. But anyway, it's no surprise. Sergio Perez, he is a quick driver. He'll do the job for you. And I also think it helps. Perez doesn't complain too much compared to other previous Red Bull drivers. And he just gets on with it. He's the perfect number 2 driver at Red Bull. Let Verstappen get all the attention. We'll give Perez every now and then. Okay. Let's get going to what's next. So, okay, we'll look at Carlos Sainz now. Now, we're going to just spend a minute or two on this because they're talking about now where another door closes for Carlos Sainz. Okay, Sainz had hoped Red Bull would recall him to the family, given his impressive form so far this year. But with that door closed, and Mercedes not interested either, the Spaniard faces a choice between Williams and Sauber Audi. Things are closing down for him. And what is going to happen with Carlos Sainz? It's hard to know. Very, very hard to know. However, his father has a lot of pull. Carlos Sainz is only in Formula One because his dad was a living legend of rally. Okay? And he knows the game as well, Carlos Sainz's dad. Now, like I've said before, guys, if my father was like that back in the day, you'd bite anybody's hand off, of course. So I'm not saying, oh yeah, well, Carlos is only there now because of this and that, and I'm a bitter fuck. Absolutely not. I think I'm loving Carlos Sainz, especially the way he came back for his appendicitis this year. I've got a lot of respect for the guy. And he's a solid enough driver. I just don't rate him that much. But still, it's not about your driving at the end of the day. It's also about who you know, what you have to bring to the table. Simple as that. So, you know what? I really do hope Carlos Sainz does get a seat for next year. I think he's a really nice guy. He's quick. It'd be nice to see him in Formula One. You know? And hey, look, I'm not into men, but you know, it's good to see that there's a really good looking guy that attracts women to watch the racing. It all helps, man. It all helps. So, you know what? I want to see Carlos in there next year. So, let's say a prayer for him. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Okay, guys, so we're nearly there now, and after this, we're going to call out the championship standings. But one more person to talk about, Esteban Ocon. Again, another, all the news this week, guys, incredible. Esteban Ocon, what happens with him? Well, I think here, there's a big chance Esteban Ocon is going to Mercedes. I think so, and I'll tell you why. Toto Wolff is Esteban Ocon's manager. We see this in Netflix. It's no secret. Now, if you haven't seen the episode, fair enough. You don't know, and that's cool. But this could easily happen. I would say there is a 70 to 75% chance he's going to Mercedes. And there's a lot of talk of, oh, this driver's going here, this driver's going there. We'll know in the next few weeks what things are confirmed, solid or not. But you can definitely believe the Sergio Perez. That's 100%. Now, Ocon, where's he going to go? You would imagine that Toto Wolff, who's Ocon's manager, is going to look after his boy now. He had two guys in place in Mercedes before, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas. Two good guys that were getting results. Esteban Ocon can be now the number 2 driver at Mercedes. And end of the day here, George Russell is their new number 1 boy at Mercedes. So put all your attention in Russell, bring in Ocon, their 2 previous Mercedes junior program drivers, I think it was. But they're all part of the Mercedes outfit here. So, one would imagine, I would be shocked if Ocon is not going to Mercedes at this stage. You'd have to be wondering, what in God's name is Toto Wolff doing, not bringing his boy to his own team at this stage? I mean, you gotta give it to Ocon. He can drive a car. He's solid enough, right? He's got experience in Formula 1. And not just that, I'm not even a fan of Esteban Ocon, but I'll even give him this. That boy is one hell of a quick pilot in greasy to wet conditions on slick tires. He is lightning. One of the best out there, if not the best. So, if I'm Toto Wolff, I'm bringing him on board. Absolutely, because I've got my number 1 boy here. George Russell's been with the team for a couple of years. He's kicking Lewis Hamilton's ass this year so far. So hey, we've got number 1 covered. We just need a backup guy. Let's bring in Ocon. Anyway, let's see what happens over the next few weeks. But guys, it's telling you, the drama doesn't stop. Okay, let's move it on. Here we go, the championship positions before we look at Canada. Maxi Boy, 169 points in first. Charles in the Ferrari at 138. So he's only 31 points behind, guys. So all we need is Verstappen to have one more DNF like he's had already this year. And it's game on if Leclerc can win that race if Max doesn't finish. Excuse me. Third position, Lando, 113. Fourth, Carlos at 108. Fifth position, Sergio at 107. Sixth is Oscar on 71. Seventh, George on 54. Eighth is Lewis on 42. Ninth is Fernando on 33. And 10th, Yuki with 19 points. All right. We're going to continue on here, guys. Let's look at the track. Oh, baby. Good old Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, guys. It's a very cool track. Love this place. Now, I personally think this track, guys, Canada, is all about momentum. Now, I do say that a lot of the time for a lot of the tracks. It's very important to have momentum at every single track you go. But for this place, you have got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 4 right lefts, left rights that are straight after another. You call them hairpins, okay? 4 hairpins, really, that you've got to be so goddamn smooth going through. You've got turn 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. You could look at 13 and 14 too. It's literally one corner after another. So these corners, it might look like a simple track. It is not a simple track. It's all about getting through these 4 hairpins extremely smooth. You have to carry that speed. You have to carry as much speed as you can into the corner to the apex. And this is the most important. You've really got to hold the speed, hold it. So if you're going in at, let's say, 101, you've got to keep it on 101, 101, 101, and then bang, on the throttle. In other words, you can't afford to go from 101 to, and it, as you're getting to the apex, it drops to 100 or even 99. You can't afford it around here. These corners are very, very important to get through. Very smooth. Keep that speed up, and whatever you do, don't use too much curb. Christ, that is extremely important. Now, at the same time, it's not even the most important corner on the track, I don't think. I personally think number 10, the hairpin itself. Okay, I'm sorry. The hairpin. Sorry, excuse me. I was calling those other corners hairpins. Was I calling them chicanes? Anyway, guys, I'm sorry. The other ones are chicanes. Turn 10 is the hairpin. Excuse me, guys. It's been a long old day here. But definitely the hairpin at turn 10. It's a simple, really, corner. They come from 8th gear down into 2nd or 3rd, depending on their gearing. You got to just nice and smooth, just almost like a Sunday drive through that bend. But you've got a very, very big, long straight after turn 10. And if you get even 1 mile an hour, even a half a mile an hour coming out of this corner, more than the guy in front of you or behind you, you'll gain some time. You will gain some time. You've got a big long straight coming down, and then once you go down that long straight, guys, you're going into 13-14, and 13-14, incredibly important corner too, but you should have that pace, the momentum from turn 10 all the way up, and you use what you've gained from 10 all the way up to 13. You use that part to then catapult yourself into 13 and 14 and back onto the straight. It's all about, it's a dance here, guys. It's a real rhythmic dance around this track. And the lovely thing about Canada, guys, is that this place bloody rains. Oh, yes, it does. And it's so tricky around this track when it does rain. I'm pumped, man. I cannot wait for this weekend. For some reason, Montreal always brings incredible racing. Don't hold me to it, of course, but most of the times, I would say 8, 9 times out of 10, this place is bringing it to you. So fingers crossed we're going to have another great one this weekend. Okay, now we're about to close off, guys, but before we do, the worst part of the podcast for me, I suppose, where I look like a dumbass sometimes. Who is going to win? Well, this is the great thing about being wrong, because it's always a great surprise when you see some other guy or team win. Do something unexpected. Now, here's the lovely thing. This is a tough one to call, guys. A very, very tough one. You've got Verstappen. I think he's going to be quick here. Obviously, we saw him struggle in Monaco. Now, for me, I was saying before, I think it's just the way that track is. It's a very bumpy, very slow track. It doesn't engage the aerodynamics in that car, and they struggled, like Singapore too. They really struggled but I think the most common thing here is it's a bumpy track. They struggle, but Montreal, it's quite smooth, very smooth actually through those bends. So I don't think they're going to have a problem this weekend. So I think they're going to be right up there. I think we're going to have Ferraris up there. They're going to be quick in a straight line. McLaren, I think they're going to be up there too. They might struggle just a touch on the straight. But we'll see. We'll see. Prediction. Okay, God. Literally right now, the way the three teams are going, this is a coin toss. A coin toss. Toin toss. Did I just say toin toss? Jesus, man. I gotta go back to school, get my grammar sorted, lads. I'm telling you. Or I don't know, maybe get drunk. Maybe I'll probably speak better there. Okay. We're tossing a coin here, lads. I'm gonna go with Ferrari. I'm gonna go with Leclerc. I think if Ferrari have the pace here, I think they'll put it into Leclerc because he is near and nearabouts Verstappen. They'd be crazy not to have all their attention on Leclerc this weekend. Now they have to capitalize on keeping Leclerc up at the top, waiting for that chance to pounce. If Verstappen has a DNF, Leclerc is either in the lead or he's right on his bloody bumper about to overtake him as his smoke is bellowing up in the air and he has a DNF. He's got to be there now. So all in, I would reckon Ferrari's going to go with Leclerc. I think we'll have Leclerc on pole and win the race. Maybe that's a brave call. I think we're going to have Verstappen in second. I think we're going to have Leclerc. You know what? I would go with this. Leclerc for pole and the win. Verstappen for off pole second for qualifying and second position in the race. And I think the two McLarens are going to back it up in third and fourth. That's what we're going to go with, guys. Of course, we will be back on Monday morning and we're going to do a full breakdown of the Canadian Formula 1 weekend, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, I hope we're on for a cracker, lads. Cheers.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front from 5th all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh.